Welcome to Tiffdoesloans podcast. So today I'm streaming with Brianna Moltz. How are you?
Good. How are you, Tiffanie?
Thank you so much for joining me. Brianna is based out of San Antonio, Texas. So she is going to give us all the details, if you're looking to relocate, how the market trends are out there. And we actually met through social media and ended up like going, on a business trip and networking and, building that relationship. So I have heard all the amazing things that she is up to. So now we are going to share that with you. So Brianna, just to kind of get Brianna, she is with Real Broker.
Yes, ma'am. That's correct.
And they are like expanding. I have been seeing Real Brokerage like everywhere. Yes. That one has, I just see it all over the place now. So maybe even, extend a little on that and, maybe why you chose, Real Brokerage.
Yeah.
Just to kind of get started here, why don't you start by telling us what led you into real estate, how long you've been doing it, and just your journey.
Perfect. So, I think everyone that gets into real estate has their own little side winded path. I certainly didn't grow up saying I want to be a realtor. But nonetheless, here I am, and I will never look back. I have found my dream career. I did accounting and financial analysis for 10 years, and there was a recruiting company that specializes in accounting and finance positions. And they sought me out after I got my degree, and they placed me as a financial analyst, and I did that for a little while. And my mom always said, Brianna, you don't have the personality for an accountant. And I was like, no, but I'm good with numbers. Like, what are you talking about, Mom? Well, come to find out, my mom was right. I don't have the typical accountant personality. And so I went back to that recruiting company and I was like, hey guys, like I love the work, but this environment just isn't for me. And they said the same thing. Well, you don't have your typical accountant personality. Why don't you come work for us and help us find people like you to find jobs for? At the time, coincidentally, I was studying for my real estate license, and I was not going to get into two different essentially sales positions. So I went the recruiting route and I stayed with that company for 8 years. And then we all know COVID changed the lay of the land for everyone. And while that company did massive layoffs, I was not in jeopardy of losing my job since I had been with them for so long, but it got me thinking of what else do I want to do with my life? And then so ultimately I got licensed in 21 and I said, peace out to the corporate world and jumped in and never looked back.
That is like, that's so amazing. And I feel like when you like switch careers to like leaving the corporate world and like going into real estate, like it definitely is like a passion, and I can see it all through, all through your social media and, all your videos and the way that you guide people. So I definitely think that you've chosen correctly. And it definitely shows. And what about, and honestly, I'll give you full kudos, like coming in, like showing your success and coming in at 2021. And in what 2021, we are more on a high. It was just like multiple.
You couldn't breathe.
2021 definitely coming in like you, and see some people like for me, I guess I kind of came in at 2020, but I just didn't have the knowledge yet to get in the high that year. But definitely to come in on the high, and then like 2022 brought us more to a halt, like 2023. So how did you kind of flow through that roller coaster of like coming into it and being like up here, and what was your main like execution there?
So thankfully I came in with a plan of, when you jump into real estate, especially feet first, you have to prepare ahead of time.
Yeah.
And so I had done that. I had taken the necessary steps to where if times fell a little not so great, I would be okay. But I'm born and raised San Antonio, so I have a really strong network here, and I dove into that, relied on referrals and the connections that I had built from the recruiting world. And when I did accounting, I was in the car business, so that was a strong network as well. So
Wow.
I guess the ultimate answer there is I just use my relationship network
Yeah.
to keep me afloat. I'm
Love
big
that.
big on relationships, yeah.
Yeah. And that shows like even to it's amazing too to keep those how you built those relationships and we're still able to power them,
Yes,
so it wasn't what you were selling or what you were doing. It was, it was you like building that
yes,
relationship. So
yes,
super incredible.
thank you.
And just to kind of highlight again, you had mentioned that you are full time, that you graduated with a bachelor's, right, in accounting. So
Yes,
how does this benefit like your
my
borrowers? Do you
customers,
kind of
yeah,
use this? Yeah. So
yeah.
kind of like, how do you prepare?
So that's a great question, especially I think it's obvious with sellers, right? Like, they always wanna net the most, but whenever I sit down with sellers, I always walk them through, this is a low, a mid, and a high. This is worst case scenario, this is best case scenario. Truth be told, we'll fall somewhere in between. So I feel like sellers, it's a little straightforward where that accounting knowledge comes into
Yeah.
play. With my buyers, it doesn't matter if you're a first-time buyer or, hey, you're a seasoned investor and you're buying your 20th home. I'll sit down with you, whether that's face to face or
Yeah.
Zoom, and talk about what are your goals. Like, literally just a few days ago, I sat down with a first time home buyer and we started talking through. And I was like, okay, what are your goals with this house? Do you want to stay in it forever? Do you want to turn this into an investment property? And they were like, oh, these are really good questions. We hadn't thought about that. And I'm like, well, that's because however you answer this, I'm going to talk to you about like what the best option for you to buy is
Mhm.
if you're not planning to stay on here. Like, they had $20,000 saved and they were willing to throw it all in a down payment. And I was like, well, guys, you have a VA loan to
Yeah.
use. And if you're not intending to stay in this home, let's not use all that money. Let's talk about new builds. Let's talk about getting your closing costs covered and
Mhm.
keeping your money in your pocket. Anyway, so I'm just able to use my numbers to help better guide them financially. I'm not a financial advisor,
Yeah.
but I will help you
But
get
to
from a
your
place.
best ability, yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
I know we're always big on that, like, I'm not a CPA,
Yeah.
I'm not
No.
this. Please consult your like, we can lead,
Yeah. See through
I
the
can
fine print.
lead so far, like, and I'm pretty good like, you get pretty good at that, like,
Yes.
giving advice without fully, taking the credit for the
Yes, yes.
advice. Yeah.
Exactly,
It's just a
exactly.
statement, like,
Here's the asterisk,
well,
see the fine
yeah,
print.
do not like don't hold me to this like or
Yes,
consult like or I'll give some advice like looking on the loan side but then like hey
yes.
go consult with this person too who's like a specialist and see
Mhm.
if it see if it lines.
Right. Exactly, exactly.
Yeah, because they all go together. We're
Yeah.
all trying to get them, but I do love that, and that's huge, a huge bonus. Working with a realtor that's also looking at that standpoint. It sounds like you help them see, even if it's like a primary home for them, and that's
Mhm.
where some people don't see it as an investment
Yeah,
when it is. It's like
yeah.
it's a long-term real estate. So like what are you going to do with this? What's the best home for you to buy like, to fit your goals. So
Yes.
super amazing that you take that extra step and not everybody does that. So
No. And it's
definitely can see why all your networks stayed with you.
yes, yes, and, another thing it's so important is, yes, I'll ask them what price point of a home
Yeah,
they're looking for, but I also ask them what monthly payment they're looking for, and so many times they'll give me this number, and I'm like, "Well, guys, we can find what you're looking for in this number, like,
yeah,
I'm not gonna keep you at the top end of your budget, like, let's keep some money in your pocket here, if we can, and
yes,
if you go up to the top, hey, that's on you."
yeah. And I'm like that too. Like when I'm doing their loans, I make sure that we have a full conversation that
Yes,
we're going over budget. I call it like budget, but like this is what you're approved for. But now let's see what you're
Yes.
comfortable with.
Right, right,
Because yeah,
exactly.
like great, you can get 1.6, but do you want to spend 10 grand? You know,
No, no.
it's not, realistically, everybody wants to be in between, like, well, 25 is probably, especially hard for me. I'm in California. So you might, 2,500 might be good in Texas, right? Like that's pretty good.
San
Like
Antonio,
25,
yeah, that's you
35.
can get a good home. Mhm.
Ours are more like 35 to 45 or, plus, or in
Yeah,
Orange County. I mean, last year they were closer, maybe like 6 to 8 if you're looking over a million.
yeah.
So
Oh, no.
what yeah, what about so kind of bring us through this San Antonio market. So like you said, you were born and raised, right?
Yes,
So
yes, so
incredible.
love
Um,
it.
what has been happening in that market now that the rates have lowered? What have you seen inventory going up or opening up?
So the thing about San Antonio is that even back during the craziness, I think we are more unique than some of the other major cities because we are, I mean, not that it's not growing everywhere, but we're literally coined Military City USA. So we constantly have an in and outflow. So there's always turnover. But everyone wanting to move to Texas, they come to San Antonio because we're at a lower cost of living than the other major cities.
Hmm.
So what that's done here is created a shortage in inventory. And while yes, there are shortages in other cities, like huh, during the craziness, we were sitting like at a 1 month supply of inventory. We've worked our way up to 4 months, but in a normal market, there should be 6 months of
Yeah.
inventory. So we've got a very heavy influx here of new builds. So a lot of my clients lately have been going the new build route because they're able to find a home and just get it and go and move on, right? And our builders here, yes, we've talked about rates lowering, but so many of these builders are offering rates in the threes. I've seen some buy downs in the twos. So right now for this fall winter market, if you're a buyer, I mean, I say jump on that rate before things change.
Yeah.
Nothing stays the same, right? Um, as far as price point for our market, if someone is coming in from out of city, out of state, our average price point here is 350, but the median, the most common is about 320.
Yeah.
I see most of my first timers probably hitting around that 300 to 320 mark.
That is so good. And
Mm,
I'm in Orange County, so I do work Texas,
yes.
and I'm licensed in California and Texas. And it is insane when I have like my Texas client shopping, when
Yes.
they send me these photo, or like because I have my clients send me whatever they're looking for, so I can like run those numbers, so
Mhm.
we're all on the same page, everyone knows what's going on. But they're like mansions
Yeah.
compared to some of those were like still like they were bigger, like 800, 900,000. But it is incredible. I've still been seeing that, like, and these are like some new builds too, right? Like 300 to like 400,000, brand
Oh,
new.
we actually have one builder here that has homes under 200,000.
Oh,
New
wow. And
builds,
they're new?
under new. I'm not gonna say they're the fanciest home, but
Yeah.
hey, guess what? There's a home for everyone, and it's better
Yeah.
that someone go invest in that than putting themselves in an apartment and paying money to somebody else. So,
Because it's still gonna go, just because they're giving a really good price, the
the
location
equity.
itself,
Yep.
the equity is still going to keep building, because all those houses around there are still going to be, when they go and look around the surrounding areas, it's still going to bring up the value of their home.
Yeah.
Granted, if it's not, they take into consideration if it doesn't like match it, sure, you're not going to get it, but it's definitely still going to keep it rising
Yeah,
because of the surrounding.
exactly.
So that's incredible.
Yeah.
I see all the the like constant rebuilding in Texas.
Mhm.
You guys are going to have to keep rebuilding because everybody from California
That's
is
right.
going there. I'm
Yes,
going to be there soon too. So
I know.
let's go.
There's this little town just northeast of San Antonio called New Braunfels. So
Yeah.
you're looking on a map, it's, San Antonio, Schertz, and then New Braunfels, and that used to be, like, the little quaint town that all of us San Antonians would go float the river in, and it would feel like such a drive, and now that corridor down 35 between New Braunfels and San Antonio has been built up so much that you're literally driving and you feel like you haven't left San Antonio, essentially, because everyone looking between Austin and San Antonio, they're landing in that New Braunfels area, so
So
it's gross
that's
inevitable.
where is that like and is it more like a smaller town? Is that like a lot of California going there? I'm sure you
No.
guys get people from other states, but
Yeah, yeah. I
local
would say majority of Californians have been coming directly to San Antonio,
or
um,
Austin.
or Austin, right? But some are looking in that, like I said, if they don't want to be in the major cities and they want a smaller town feel, they're settling in that center. So it's just crazy to see, again, especially someone born and raised here, these little small towns, they no longer feel like outside of San Antonio. They just feel like an extension of San Antonio.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you guys better make some room because we're still
We
coming.
Texas is big, y'all.
We are still coming. I know, yeah, Texas is definitely been one of the go-tos, and it's the difference in the weather is so extreme, but I still feel like the what is that? The just the way of life, it's like so many, especially if you have a big family, it's just a lot more struggle, over here in the city. So
Yeah.
um, what would be kind of some tips if you were looking to maybe move from like LA, Orange County? I know a lot of people from San Diego are also, it's just getting very, very expensive,
Sure.
especially if you have larger families. So people are looking to really get some more space and just more affordability. So what are your top tips, or say if you have somebody looking to move, like how do you kind of prepare them
Yeah,
or
great
get them in the
question.
right spot?
Sure. So, firstly, find a great realtor who's a local
Yes.
and knows the area.
Yeah,
Ah.
100%. Yeah.
Yes.
I'm sending them to
Um,
you.
but specifically tapping into the family part, that is something I
Yeah.
wanted to say about San Antonio. Even though we are a major city, all of us that are born and raised here, we constantly say, like, that's one thing about uh, the feeling of San Antonio. It is a large city with all the amenities, but it still feels like a small town. You will bump into somebody you know. I'm
Yeah.
constantly hearing from those that are moving here from elsewhere how we're a friendly city. Now, listen, we always have your exceptions. So, again, asterisk, but we're a
Yeah.
friendly city. We're a welcoming city. Um, I would say, firstly, after the realtor, start researching school districts because
Mhm.
I know, especially if you're a family and you've got kids, school districts are important. So start looking at the research on school districts because yes, I know the school districts here, but what's important to me may not be what's important to you. So as a parent, I say start researching the school districts because then once we narrow down the school districts, then I can better help advise, okay, within this district, let's start talking areas, right? Crime is important. I know I'm constantly getting asked what's a safe, quote unquote, safe area. There again, that's always a matter of opinion because what I might consider safe, you may not. So
Yeah.
research the crime areas. That way, you know what's important to you in terms of, oh, okay, this area could work for me, could not. I think someone coming with my background, coming from the recruiting background, also research the commute. Maybe if we're coming from LA, San Antonio traffic may not be so
Yeah.
bad, but I will have people tell me, oh, I want to live 5 minutes by my job. Y'all, that's just not realistic. Like, I mean, unless you're
Is
working from
it, yeah,
home.
it's all going to be a bit of a drive, right?
Yes, yes. And, the great thing with technology now is you can go into your Apple Maps. If you use Apple Maps, go into Google Maps, look at the area you want to live in, look at the area you want to work in, and put in those peak traffic times and see what a standard commute might be. Because if it's telling you that you're only 10 miles from your place of work, or potential place of work, but you're going to be sitting in traffic for an hour, that's something you need to decide if you can do that on a day in and day out basis. Because
Yeah.
if not, I've had people come to me wanting to, move again because they're just sick of that commute.
It's
So,
too much. Yeah.
yeah. So I think that's something that people tend to always forget about is researching the commute of what their daily lives might look like.
Yeah, that's intense. I really don't have a commute anymore, but I know like I do look at that too for my clients, like,
Mhm.
or they'll start sending me things, especially because how everything has been. One of my issues is, they work in a really more higher end area, and then they're trying to get
Mhm.
further away so it's cheaper and more
Yep.
affordable. But
Yep.
then, like, you can't be like, we won't be approved if you're like an hour and a half away. It's not going to work. It needs to make sense. So
Right.
I feel like that kind of, and especially in the moment, they're trying to make these changes. And it's like, but that's why we're here to like dial them back. Like, wait a minute,
Yes.
really think about it, sit in it. Like, I'm sure you do that with their houses, like walking through, like there might be steps. I had clients from Texas, but they really loved this house, but the whole thing had like a step through it,
Like,
like almost
inside the
like,
home, like
yeah,
at a
right
split
when they
level?
come into the house, you step down, and
Oh.
then yeah, and it was like it was the whole. They talked about like they were like, can we bring it all level? But I was like, you might as well just find a new
A
house.
different house. Yes, unless that is just, like, the ultimate perfect home, but feel
Yeah,
free to
no,
find a
because it
different
would
one.
have been, I was like, that's probably gonna be hundreds of thousands and
Yeah.
it wasn't just that room, it was like the other room. So,
Oh, yeah, no.
like, yeah,
No.
you would have it's almost like we would have been like raising the almost the whole house. I was like, you would have had to do the kitchen, like everything. So I
Crazy.
feel like that's that's what we're here for. To
Exactly,
like, wait a minute,
exactly.
let's really break this down.
Yes.
Yeah, I try to build a roadmap.
No, and, like, whenever I work with out of city or out of state buyers, like, right now I have a gentleman who's wanting to move from Corpus, which is just a couple hours southeast of San Antonio, southish of San Antonio, but he's wanting to move to San Antonio, so listen, I'm not gonna make him drive up for every home, so we'll go do FaceTime showings, and
Yeah.
I had a buyer from Arizona, so that's another thing, we'll go out, we'll do FaceTime, I'll put the camera away, and I'll step and measure so you can get an idea of sizes, so that's something else I'll do for clients
That's
who
so
aren't.
amazing.
Yeah, yeah, that
And
way they
the
can get an idea.
virtual, like, we're in a time that's really incredible
It
because
is, it
you
is.
could do a full walkthrough, like FaceTime,
Mhm,
like just show
mhm.
them everything, like without even being there. And
Yeah,
they feel confident, like you're in the house, like you're kind of pointing everything out. So it's pretty, it's more convenient than it
yeah.
used to be to
Oh,
make
for
that like
sure,
big
for
move.
sure. That way
Like,
before there's
imagine
like,
in the '80s, like, moving
"Oh,
across
mhm,
country, that would have been, like it seems like it would be intense.
I
Like,
know."
you don't really know, like, not
No.
everyone's posting, like,
No, no,
now we
no.
have so much research. If you put in, like, one city and there's somebody, like, posting, like, a
Like a
or, like, a
plethora.
restaurant, yeah, like, "This is the worst place I've ever been," and, like, 3,000 people agree,
Yes,
it's
yes,
not, yeah.
for
So,
sure.
it's, like, definitely I try to utilize those too for them, but and so when you are and we have a lot of California, like, would you say in that area you have a lot of people relocating? Like
In San
coming
Antonio as a
into
whole?
San Antonio? Yeah,
Yeah, we saw
like a
a
lot of
lot
San
of Californians move here, especially after 2000. Um, but again, we have so many people from just everywhere
just
moving here
all
because of
yeah,
the military. I always defer back to that. It's just you see people from all walks of life coming here. But as far as states as a whole, I would say California and Arizona have been the two that I've seen like the biggest populations from a state.
yeah, that's amazing. And so coming into this winter season, so we definitely, the rates have lowered. More people, I feel like more sellers are listing. So, now that maybe because now they're willing to maybe make a move. And now, since those rates are lower. So, how are you guiding your sellers? First, we'll do sellers and then we can go to buyers. But
Okay.
how are you since the rates just went down right before winter, and
Mhm.
winter is usually slow, are you kind of telling them to pump the brakes, or is this when you tell them to accelerate?
Yeah, no, I'm not of the mindset to pump the brakes during the holidays because here's why. If somebody's out shopping, they need to buy a home, right? If they're shopping during that time of the year, they need to buy a home. So you're doing yourself a disservice if you wait till post holidays because you're missing that candidate or that pool of buyers who need to buy. So
Need it.
no, I think
They're
that's
going
such
to
a
move quickly.
misconception. Yes, exactly. So
Yeah.
you're missing out on those serious buyers. Specifically for my sellers, and again, this is relative to San Antonio and the surrounding areas, because we have so many new builds, different builders at different price points, and they are all offering such incredible incentive packages. Right now, with my sellers, what I've been advising them to do to help keep their home competitively out
Yeah.
there as an
Like
option.
versus a build.
Right, and we're not talking just price. I've been advising them to go ahead and offer, seller concessions to help with the rate buy downs on a traditional, whether you're looking at FHA
Mhm.
or conventional, and
Yep.
then that's been helping them compete with the builders who are already including those rate buy downs. So that's been helping, because I have found that the buyers who are shopping aren't necessarily focused so much on, "Oh, we adjusted the price $5,000." No, they'd rather have the 5,000 paid to them at closing to help with rate buy downs. Even though the rates are coming down a little bit, that still has been, um, a point for them. And then I would say the flip of that, switching with buyers, not to go against advice from my sellers, but if I'm working with a buyer, I have been advising them to go new build because you just
Mhm.
can't beat it really lately. They're getting the lower rates, and most of our builders here are offering, all closing costs paid, if not a large portion. So, unless I have someone who is looking for a specific type of home, then yeah, absolutely, we'll go shop pre-owned and see what's out
Yep.
there. But again, if it's not their end home, keep money in your pocket.
And just try to get, yeah, I usually guide them too with this season. Like you can probably get, I'm like, this is the time you go when no one else is out there. I
Yes.
was like, because I tell them the same thing, like what you said for the sellers, or like if people are shopping, it's because they need it. And I'm like, if people are selling, it's
They
because,
need to move.
yeah,
Mhm.
they're usually looking for a solution. So they're probably going to get seller credits. Not a lot of people are going to be out, so I definitely agree with that. I usually push them in that direction as well.
Yeah.
Just to kind of help them. Like we've still had a lot of seller credits. Most of mine have been veterans, so they're usually always above to get the seller credits.
Yes, yes.
But super, yeah, that is, I think 2025 is going to be great, just for everybody, moving forward now with these really, with the rates lowering. Have you seen a, this will probably be kind of our final question here, but have you seen a price, um,
Reduction.
basically a price, no, a price jump? So
Oh,
I'm
yeah, because
thinking
usually when rates go down, prices
go
go
down,
up.
the pricings go up. So I've been urging this to, clients back in February. Like, look, you should. There was a window when we were kind of back in the fives, just for you know, a slight time, but basically to hop in there and start building equity,
Mhm.
because once the rates go lower, then they can just refinance. But usually now there's going to be more demand, so the prices are going to go up. Have you seen this already, or do you
Mm,
kind of see it climbing?
no, I haven't seen prices starting to climb yet, and I have a couple theories as to why. For one, the rates
Okay.
literally just started coming
Yeah.
down, so I think everyone right now is just capitalizing on
Feeling
that.
the shit.
I I suspect that the prices will go up probably after November. It's that time
Yeah.
of the country's thing, and I think everyone's kinda waiting to see what direction everything is going to go. Um,
Hmm.
and I'm not sitting here saying, "Oh my god, you need to wait after November." No, 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 no.
No, no, no.
It's not gonna affect anything for buyers or sellers in terms of movement. But I think in terms of the price increasing, I think everyone's just keeping it status quo until we see where the chips fall.
Yep. Just yeah, still kind of on the sidelines there.
Mhm.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I haven't seen too many jumps out here, but
Mm-mm.
definitely probably December or January. But hopefully by that time we have another drop, and then hopefully
I've
it
still been seeing
will.
some price decreases, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
so
and that's normal with
yeah.
winter, right?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
So, y'all, as cliche as it sounds, it's
Yeah.
a great time to buy.
Yeah. Yesterday, 20 years ago, remember?
Yes, yes.
Like, that's what I know, but like, it's just, um, when you're thinking back, or I guess when you're thinking back, like, "Oh, I should have been buying when I was, like, in 3rd grade," or
Coulda,
when,
coulda,
like,
woulda, you
everyone's
know?
all mad. No,
Yes,
yeah, I try to
yes.
tell them too, like, just as soon as you can, as long as you're mentally ready
Right.
and you have that qualification. So,
Yes,
as
yes, yes.
long as you're qualified and you can make it, make sense of it, then yeah, like now is the
Yeah.
time.
Jump in.
Yep. Well, Brianna, I want to thank you so much for joining me today and, guiding our clients. If anyone is looking to move in the San Antonio area, I'm going to have all of Brianna's information below. Any tips and tricks or market trends, she will be able to help. And yeah, thank you so much.
No, thank you so much for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure, and we're gonna continue to hang out somewhere up in Michigan at some
Yes.
point.
Bye.
Bye, have a good one.